In 2022, we're back in Brazil's Pantanal for our third visit. Located in the southwest of Brazil, it's one of our favorite places on Earth. It's the world's largest wetland and an ideal environment for a rich biodiversity, with many species found nowhere else. And then there are the jaguars. The highest density on Earth makes the elusive cats a little easier to find. We're going to some posadas or lodges that will be new to us, and Porto Jofre for the third time because of the jaguars. Baiazinha is in the northwest of the Pantanal on the Paraguay River, in an area where we haven't explored yet. We're on a paved road from Cuiabá until now. It's 65 kilometers of dirt road from here. We stopped for a couple of our favorite birds, the little burrowing owl. We're getting closer, only 10 more kilometers. We finally make it, and the nice lady at reception checks us in. We still have some daylight left, so we backtrack up the road we came in on. This is cattle country. The wildlife share the landscape with up to 8 million cattle. They're mostly zebu because of that breed's tolerance for drought, heat, and humidity. In the 20th century, forests were cleared for cattle, impacting the habitats of the native wildlife. 90% of the land is privately owned today. In the last 20 years, the government has imposed mandates and given incentives to maintain and restore native habitats. These initiatives have allowed the ecotourism to grow substantially. Some species have adapted to the open grasslands. The Sariema feed on insects stirred up by grazing cattle. Raptors also patrol the fields for rodents, insects, and reptiles. The whistling heron prefers the pastures to the ponds and riverbanks favored by its heron cousins. In a palm tree, we see a pair of hyacinth macaws, endemic and endangered species. Hopefully this is a harbinger of things to come. Clouds have an ominous look to them. We're here at the end of the rainy season, but that doesn't mean it won't rain. As the light fades, we head back to Baiazinha Hotel for dinner. Next morning after breakfast, we're out on the dock, ready to explore the Paraguay River. We're out on the river at 7:30, but the light isn't that great. Our first stop is a sandbar in the middle of the river. Skimmers have a unique anatomy, a large lower mandible. This allows them to catch fish by flying low over the water, with their big bill skimming the surface. Sharing the sandbar with the skimmers are yellow-billed terns. And there are a few much smaller pied lapwings running around. After taking too many bad pictures of fast-moving birds in poor light, we head to the riverbank in search of other wildlife. This juvenile great black hawk seems to be having some teenage angst. It's not great or black yet. Sometimes you have to look very carefully at the tangle of vegetation on the riverbank to see the wildlife. Our guide has to tell us to look up at the treetops to spot this southern screamer. These nest trees are easy to see. The coqui herons are waiting for their parents to feed them. If this is one of their parents, the kids will be well fed today. It's easy to miss while looking up, but there are caiman everywhere in the tangle of grasses and water hyacinths at the water's edge. At 5 feet tall, the jabiru stork is hard to miss. Its wingspan is 9 feet. They form a lifelong pair bond. So what kind of a nest do jabirus make? A big one, 3 feet or more wide and 6 feet deep. The chicks fledge at 110 days old, but they'll spend the next 3 months in the care of their parents. The cormorant's a common sight in the waterways of the Pantanal. They're excellent divers and swim on the surface with their bodies submerged. They're not very graceful getting airborne. It must take a lot of effort. After a productive morning, we head back to the lodge for a lunch and a little downtime. It's 2:30 and we're back on the water. But the weather has deteriorated. A thunderstorm is approaching from the southwest. Deciding that it's probably not a good time to be in open water, we look for refuge. This houseboat is where we'll wait out the storm. Luckily, the owner is agreeable, and we tie up and get under cover. Then the rains come down. Finally, it lets up. We bundle up and head back to Baiazinha. In the morning, we're back in the boats for our last day exploring the Paraguay River. Good news is that the wind seems to have blown the rain away, but it's also made the river choppy. We head for the thick vegetation on the riverbank. Like yesterday, if you look closely, you can find birds. There are 5 species of kingfisher found in the Pantanal. Today we see 3 of the 5 species. Jabiru are out looking for breakfast, probably to feed that hungry juvenile we saw yesterday. The coqui herons are out for breakfast too. They have hungry juveniles waiting in the nest. The capybara are very mellow this morning. That probably means there are no jaguars nearby. The screamer eyes us warily from a treetop, then launches with its characteristic call. Wood storks are resting in the treetops. On the bank are a pair of curassow with their impressive crests. We check the activity on the sandbar again. This time, roseate spoonbills have joined the skimmers and terns. And cormorants are still warming up in their roost tree. But some are hard at work catching a meal. We hear them before we see them. It's a family of very curious giant river otters. They're endangered and their population is estimated below 5,000. They only live in the Amazon and the Pantanal. They are Lobo del Rio, the wolf of the river. They hunt in packs. They live in family groups. They are the river's apex predator. and have an attitude. The otters made our day, and we head back to Baiazinha for dinner and packing. After breakfast, we say goodbye to the resident cat. We retrace our route back to Poconi.